Imagine spending hours building a model ship only to end up breaking it. Corey Adkins met a man who has to do just that. He explains in this week's Northern Michigan in Focus.
I've been doing this since I was a teenager.
What Ted McCutcheon is talking about is a very precise hobby that he's very serious about.
One kind of well-known photograph of the Parker.
Model shipbuilding. He was recently commissioned to build a 2-scale model of the A.A. Parker for the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society.
It was a very typical wooden bulk freighter built in the early 1880s, and at the time of its loss it was owned by a fleet that sort of specialized in buying somewhat obsolete vessels and using them until they dropped.
It just so happens on September 19, 1903, the 249-foot A.A. Parker foundered to the bottom of Lake Superior, just off the coast of Grand Marais, Michigan, but not before all 17 crew members and 2 dogs were saved. In 2001, the Shipwreck Society discovered the Parker, and for some reason, it sits on the bottom different than other vessels of that type.
This one somehow did split apart at the bow, but it held together pretty much at the watertight bulkhead. The outside planking was facing upward. None of us can really figure out quite how that happened.
Which makes Ted's job difficult. The wreck is around 200 feet below the surface. Sometimes visibility is poor.
And I had to sort of base it on what I could see from the underwater video. And unfortunately, none of the engineering drawings seem to have survived.
And once he gets this model done, you won't believe what he has to do to it.
I've got to figure out how to make this strong enough to hold together on the one hand, but weak enough to break apart, so you can tell how one pile of junk relates to the next pile of junk and so on.
He's even made duplicate engines and boilers.
Now the engine, of course, is pretty intact. Looks like it still has a lot of its paint on it, but has some rust globs on it too that I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to duplicate yet.
We gotta hand it to Ted. To put all that time into a model, only to break it, to make it look like a place only few folks have seen in 117 years. Or maybe that's the point.
The important thing on this model is basically to demonstrate as clearly as possible the state of the wreck and what it looks like, and give you a flavor of the thing.
For Northern Michigan in Focus, I'm Corey Adkins.